Hello everyone and welcome back. Now that we have all our images downloaded, we have also constructed our backend. Now let's get started to code the actual game. So I opened the 21 card trick Python file, and inside here we can start to do some coding. Let's start by importing Pygame. So Pygame. Next, we need to import also random. We need random because we need a random pack of cards every time that we play the game. So that's why we have to import random. Next, let's import also OS. And we need OS because we have to load the images, the tabletop image, also the cards images. So we need to pass in the path for all of these images. Next, as I have told you in the previous video, let's also import here the backend.py file inside here. So import back and okay, and now importing backend, now we can use these functions here in the backend. Okay. Next, we will need here to have a few things that we used in this scratch.py. So I'll go here, and what we are interested in is the main file path. This is very important. Images folder path and the cards folder path. So I will just copy this. And I'm going to paste them in here. Okay, now let's give our game or our game window an icon and a title. So let's just comment here. So we'll say title and icon. And to do this, we have to just say pygame dot display dot set underscore caption, and here we will just call this or we'll just set like a, it will look like a label. If you know PyQt5, the label of the window, we'll just call it card trick. Okay, now that we have the title, let's also create an icon for our game. So icon equal to, and again pygame, and now we have image dot load, and here is where we are going to use our variables from here. So, and we are also going to use our module OS. So os dot path dot join, and here we just have to say cards folder and the name of the image that we need, and that image is called back cards -07.png. You can find it in here. So in icon back cards 07. Okay, now let's set a variable for our cards. So the complete deck of cards that we have, so 54 cards, we will import that dictionary in here. So I will just say here, just to know cards dictionary and import, just to know what we are doing here. So okay, so I will just set this variable called cards, and I will use only uppercase letters in variable only when this variable is not going to be changed during our game. So these cards will never be changed. There will always be the same deck of cards, the 54 cards, and from these 54 cards we are going to pick every time 21 cards. And here we have to say backend point and then we have the function called cards. Yes. And if we try now to print this one, and cards, run it, we have an error. Cards. Okay, one more time. And as you see, we have accessed backend, and we have accessed this function here called cards, and this cards function has returned the deck of cards. Okay, let's go a step forward, and we need also for our game, of course, we need colors. So I will just say here color import. Okay, and again all capital letters. Colors is equal to, and then backend, and then colors. And of course this will be the same as what the one above. The colors will be returned by the function colors inside here, inside this Python folder. This function will return these colors, and we are going to use them later on in our project. Okay, now we have to set let's set width and the height of our window. So I will just say again with all capitals, because this is not going to change during our game. So width and then height is equal to, and let's just say 1200 by 850. It should be enough. And let's set now the display with this width and height. So I'll just say window. So I'll just call this function this variable win, from window win equal to Pygame, and then display, and then we set the mode, and we have width and then also height. For our background, we need to use our picture that we have, this tabletop. So let's just call this one background is equal to, and here we have to use Pygame, transform, and scale, because we have to adjust the size of our image. And now we have to load the image. Pygame image load, and inside here now again we are going to use os.path, because we have to set the path for our image. So let's just say os.path, not pair but path, and then join. And we have to join what? We have to join because we know that the tabletop image is in our images here. So we have here tabletop. So then we have the images folder, this one. We have to join this, and then the name of the picture itself. So it's called table top point png. Now we have it, and here also we have to set width and the height. So because we already have them defined, I will just say here width and then height. Okay, Now we need to define a function that actually makes our game run. So let's just call this one main. And inside main we have a few variables that we have to define. So first it will be run. It will be a boolean, and we'll just use this one to loop through a while loop, and if run is true then the game is running, if run is false then the game will stop. So let's say it true. Now we need some integer that is going to represent how many frames per second are we going to use in our game. So how many times per second the display is going to be redrawn. So let's call this one FPS and set it to 60 for our game. For this type of game it should be more than enough. Now also we have to define a clock, and we call it clock, and Pygame time clock. And now this is the clock of the game. And here I like to call or to create another function, and I will just call this one redraw. So inside this we are going to put some things, but for now let's just pass it. And now let's also define the while loop that I told you about earlier. So while run, we set the speed of the refresh, so clock not tick, and here we use the already defined variable of FPS, frames per second, and we call here the redraw function. So redraw. Now if we are going to run the game exactly like here without doing anything else, we are going to get stuck, because we need to be able to close the game, and now we are not able to do that. So to be able to close the game we have to pick the events that the player is doing. Not all of them for now, but one specific. So to do that we need to loop through the events that happen in Pygame. So let's do that. So for event in Pygame dot events event, and we have to get them. And if event point type is the same as Pygame dot quit, all capitals, then we make run false, and that should get us out of the game. And now let's do the classical if underscore name is the same with main underscore main underscore. Then we call main function. Okay, let's clear it and run it, and we got a black screen with the name of our game. The dimensions look okay, and if we press the close button the game should stop. It does. Okay, next I would like to define a font that we are going to use later on, but it's good to have it here. So I will go just under, let's say under here, under this one, and I'll just say here font definition, just to know what's going on here. And let's call this font small text, and let's say Pygame font and font, yes. And we are going to use Free Sans bold. And the size will be 25. We do have to initialize the font first, so let's do it here. Otherwise it's not going to work. So Pygame font initialize. Okay. If we run it now, again. Okay, here it was a problem. Yes, and it's I will just run it again just to show you something. Okay, so we still have the black screen and we have the arrow. I would like to also change the arrow into something else, but also let's first load the image of our tabletop. So we have to go here in a redraw function, and we say here window is what means. This is what we define there. So we have to draw the image on our window. So that's why we are going to use here blit. Actually, this is what it means. It's drawing. And this is the image background. Okay, so this 0, 0 means that we are going to draw the window starting from the upper left corner, right? So it means that we are going to draw it starting from here. And now you can still see that the image has not been loaded, but we have no errors here. And that is because the image actually was loaded, but only for a split second. And then we could not see it. It was so fast that we could not see it. And to have a continuous redraw of that window, we have to update the display. So here we just have to say Pygame display update, and I can remove this pass. We run it again, and now let's go to the cursor. I would like to change this cursor to something else, and we can do this one just, let's say, under the font definition. We'll just say cursor and Pygame mouse set cursor in here, Pygame cursor cursors dot triangular and to the left out. Let's try it now. And you can see that this is a cursor, and once I'm going down into the window, the cursor changes to something else. There are, I think, 4 or 5 cursors that you can choose out of, but I just like this one for this game. Okay, so now code looks quite okay. We have a window. We have also here to display the icon. So we have the title of the game, as you saw, but let's also try to display the icon. So let's just say Pygame display set icon, and we are going to use, of course, icon. And if we have a problem here. Okay, because we are trying to get the icon from the cards folder, but the icon actually is in the icon folder. So here we have to define one more variable called icon. Folder. And we are going to use the same os path.join, and we have to join the main path with the icon folder. So now if I copy this and put it in, and now if we run it, okay, so as you can see we have now a problem, and that is because the file that we are trying to use here is too large. It's around 820 kilobytes. So to go around this problem, you can open a browser, and inside here you can just paste this link that I will put in the description, and you can download this image in the PNG version, 32 by 32. Press download and save it as I have in this icon folder. And once it's done, just have to rename it, not rename it, but just copy the name and go back to our code, and instead of this back card.07, we will just place here the name of the icon that we like to use. And now if we are going to run it again, we have no more problem. So even though we cannot see the icon, it might work for you, because as I told you also in the previous video, for me in Ubuntu 2010 the icon is not showing, but in Windows it might be possible to see it, and in Mac OS as well. I think also maybe in Linux Mint. Okay, then we have the game running again. Okay, so next I would like to rename this PNG file to icon.png to be a bit shorter, and of course we have to rename it also in the file, in the folder. So here rename icon.png. Now we have it renamed. Next we are going to need 21 cards to display in our game, and we have to pick them up from our dictionary, from those 54 cards that we have in our dictionary, and these cards have to be unique. And also, of course, also the back of the cards should not be included in this list. So as I said, we will need here a list. So I will just say game back and define it as a list, and here down underneath the cursor I will just also create a function called gamepack, and global because we intend to run the game several times. We have to first make sure that the game pack list is empty, because we can run it one time and we fill it up, and if we try to run it again we will get the same cards we had before. So let's first be sure that the game pack is empty. So I will just set it to an empty list, game pack empty list, and now here we can start to fill it in. So while the length of our game pack is less than 21. Then we pick a card. So new card. And here random comes in place. Random choice. And here inside we have to give a list. So let's make a list out of all the keys that we have in our cards dictionary. So let's say X for X in cards dot keys. And once we have it, we also have to be sure that this card was not in the list. So we have unique cards, and as I said, the back of the card is not picked for this list. So if new card not in game pack and new card different than purple back, then we can append the new card to the game pack. So game pack point append, and we have here a new card, and this should be fine, and this should work. Let's give it a try. And down here we can call game pack, not the list but the function pack, and let's also print each loop the game pack. Okay, I will set the frames per second to 2, so we'll have every second 2 game packs. And now if we are going to run it, okay, typo. Append again, append. Okay, now it is running. As you can see, the game started, and you can also see here that we get new game cards, 21 game cards every time that we loop through this function. So this function, now I have purple because I made a typo here. Back. Okay, let's run it again. We should not get it anymore. Now it's okay. Next, we have to create 2 classes. One class for the cards, and the second class for buttons, so that we can interact with the buttons. But this I will do in the next video, as this one is getting long. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.